A nomadic way of life, i.e. a gypsy way of life, isn't illegal in this country. In fact, the government has a duty to facilitate a gypsy way of life, and yet clearly that hasn't been happening when you've got families just being evicted from one day to the next.
I grew up on roadside camps. We didn't stop on permanent sites or in a house. We always moved from camp to camp, getting moved around, so you kind of grow up with a fear that you could go to bed and in the morning you might be either getting dragged off by the council or they might have come with some sort of digger in the night and dug a trench around you so you couldn't get off. So that the children go to school, they might not know if they're coming home to where they left from, which makes education extremely difficult.
In terms of costs of unauthorised encampments, there are two financial ones primarily. One is going through the court process itself, but then the second one is because it's unplanned, you then tend to actually have quite high clear-up costs. Over and above the financial cost then, you've also got the community cost. As people know, can cause all sorts of community tensions.
What tends to happen is the communities become polarised. Lots of calls into the police, the settled community up in arms, out of fear and lack of knowledge. And then quite understandably, that puts the people that are forming the unauthorised encampment on the defensive, and you end up with two groups that become polarised.
In my role, residents may come along to a meeting and they would speak to me and say that they have concerns about an encampment that's come in. It's okay what you see on TV, but what you see in real life is something completely different, and people tend to stereotype.
Over the years, the focus has come down to the ethnicity rather than the problem. The problem isn't the ethnicity, the problem is unauthorised encampments. Negotiated stopping offers an alternative approach to deal with it.
We promoted negotiated stopping to the council, which is a temporary use of unused land, rather than what is put forward by some local authorities to build a transit site.
The team that work with the travellers groups will have a discussion about how long do people want to stay. Is there maybe a place fairly nearby which might be more convenient to stay than the one that they're in? Those discussions will be had, they'll reach an agreement with that group to negotiate for them to stay there for a defined period.
In Leeds now, the agreement is that negotiated stopping will take place up to 28-day periods of time. So once you know you're going to be in an area for 28 days, you can make an arrangement with a local school, you can sign on to a nearby doctor, you can hope for some sort of continuity of education and of healthcare.
Then we will provide a refuse service, we'll provide toilets. We can also do things like arrange educational services and welfare services as well.
The local authority has agreed that it won't use any one piece of ground more than once in a 12-month period. So we're not expecting settled residents to have the same situation ongoing again and again.
It improves relationships between a minority group and the larger majority population. That's a requirement on the police and local authority. Negotiated stopping provides them a way of actually meeting their duties under the Equalities Act.
It was very different being asked by the council and the police what we actually wanted. When you speak to the council at a negotiated stopping site, you kind of know that they're there to help you.
The benefits have been enormous. I think negotiated stopping actually removes the need for the police to get involved in any great depth at all.
We've had a number of very successful ones. We were able to save well over 100,000 in terms of legal and clean-up costs.
Negotiated stopping bridges the gaps in that the settled community and the traveller community can build relationships with each other.
I would back negotiated stopping 100% as a resident.
It would make it easier if there was a national grid of provision.
What we need is local authorities to be courageous and to bring this out into the open and to prove, as we have done here in Leeds, that if you treat people with respect, that is what you will get.
Here there's a solution which has been proved to work, been proved to save money, proved to reduce costs, but most importantly, has actually been proved to improve the lives of a group that actually suffer enormously. Actually, why not use it?